welcome everybody to the podcast. I'm absolutely delighted to have our first guest on. The first guest we chose, Susan Niebergall. So happy to welcome her on board. Susan is, I guess, an expert in her level of, getting people to lose weight, fitness, exercise, everything. And we're so grateful to have her on today. And we're going to ask her a lot of in-depth questions that can help people, take the next steps towards the life they want in regards to health, fitness, and mental health also. So yeah, we'll go straight into it.
Great.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
I'll start you off with the first question. I actually follow you a lot longer than Glenn would. Glenn only heard about you through me. So I looked into and seen that you used to do counselling in a school, wasn't it? For 25 years, was it?
At least, yeah.
So what made you make the switch from the school counselling to the kind of coaching and weight loss aspect?
I think through my counseling, and I was a teacher before a counselor too. So I was in education for like a total of 33 years, something like that. And I retired about 5 years ago now. And through that time, and I talk about this in my book that I wrote about all the crazy, stupid things that I did for so many years. Through that time, I was struggling all the time to lose weight and everything. And I started going to a gym, and I started loving the whole gym scene, even the classes. Like, that's how I started. And I love that. And that led to working with trainers. And I just became a gym rat. That's what we call it over here. People that are just like loving to go to the gym, right? I was that person. And while I was a school counselor, I'm thinking, wow, what I do for a living is I talk to people and I help people. What a great marriage that is with doing something that I'm really passionate about, which is getting stronger and being in the gym, and how that could be a really good marriage. And so while I was a school counselor, I decided to go ahead and get certified as a trainer, which I did. And then while I was still a counselor, I would work part-time for a gym. And then I worked part-time for a training company. So like a couple days a week after I was done at school, I would go train people till like 8 p.m. or something like that. So I just kind of dabbled my toes in it at that point. And what I found was and to this day, I use my counseling skills every single day. It was probably the perfect meld of two occupations, right? Being a school educator, a teacher, I know how to teach people how to do things, and a school counselor who can talk to people, who can listen, who can direct conversations, that piece, and that piece, honestly, I think is one thing that a lot of coaches struggle with at the beginning, much more than probably I did, because that was my background. Yeah. And it is something that takes practice over time, just like anything else, but it's very valuable as being an online coach or an in-person coach. It doesn't matter. But that's why I went that direction. And so as I got certified and worked part-time, I was coming up on retirement, and I knew I wanted to do this in some way, shape, or form in retirement. And what I did right when I retired is I still trained staff members at my school. That was the beginning of Susan Niebergall Fitness. It was small group training after school. I developed a program just for them. And that just bled out into more in-person. And then I got so many local in-persons that decided, no, I want to go online, because I only have so many hours in the day. You can, with in-person, you are limited by how many hours you have in a day to help a person one-on-one. So that's when Susan Niebergall Fitness was born, and I started going online. And so the rest is kind of history. If you fast forward, I did coach online one-on-one for quite a while. And Jordan brought me on as his partner in the inner circle. And so that's my coaching focus right now, is coaching the inner circle with him, which I've been doing now. We're going on our 4th year together.
And how did that come about? How did you and Jordan find each other? You're in 2 different cities in America. You're a good bit away. How did you just find each other and decide that you really wanted to work together?
I actually first hired him as my online coach. I hired him as my online coach. I thought I wanted to power lift at that point in time. And so everyone told me, you got to hire him. You got to hire him. That was back in his powerlifting days, right? Yeah. So I hired him. And what we found was working together, we just were two peas in a pod. We got along beautifully. Our goals and ethics were the same. He helped me start my business. I brought him on kind of as a business coach advisor as well. I joined his inner circle right away because I just wanted I wanted to have access to everything he did, because he was the game changer for me. Once I started working with him, my life completely changed, not only from a business perspective, but really from my weight loss perspective, building strength perspective, all of that. And so I joined his inner circle. It's very active in there, always posting, always helping. And he and I finally started talking. He goes, this is crazy. We need to do this together. And so at that point, I said, I'm like, yeah, I'm all in. And we've been full steam ahead ever since. And it's a great partnership. And here's the funny thing about that. On paper, it looks ridiculous, right? You have this woman who's now 61 and Jordan, who's a kid, he's 30. And at the time, he was in his 20s and I was in my late 50s. And on paper, that looks like, how dumb of a partnership is that really? I mean, it just doesn't sound legit, but it has been, we think we're probably the best partnership there is. We bring so many different things to the table from each side. And I've learned to be way more spontaneous from his thing. And he's gotten way more organized because of me. And we like I said, we're two peas in a pod. I think we're spirit animals. He's like my other son at this point.
That's great. Then I was going to go into kind of what made you choose this career, but you've already gone into that. What it seems like for you is it wasn't kind of one moment. A lot of people have that one moment where they're working a job and they just go, oh, I hate this job. I don't want to do this anymore. And maybe they like training or they like coaching and they just make that jump and make that leap. For you, you actually seem to already like your job and just kind of gradually came into the fitness world.
I was lucky because I had started that while I was still actively working in education. And so I kind of knew what was going to happen when I retired. And I'll tell you, if anyone out there that has retired from a job, one of the things that's really scared me with retirement is losing my identity, because I had been an educator for 33 years. That's who I was. Yeah. And that was scary to lose that. I'm like, what am I going to, who am I going to be? And what's interesting was, because I had fitness thing kind of already started and I was just going to kind of move forward with it, I already had the new identity waiting for me. I just had to keep going and keep building it and building it. And now this is my identity, right? Education's kind of back here. It's definitely a part of who I am. It always will be, but it's so interesting how things shift like that. So I was very fortunate. I didn't retire and go, what now? And I think that helped me tremendously.
Definitely, because a lot of people suffer when they retire. They don't really know what they're doing, and they can slip into kind of a negative phase. Actually, for me, that probably happened when I left school. When I left school, everyone was going to college, everyone had a plan. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was coaching football teams and thought that I wanted to go down the road of coaching soccer here. That's what I thought I wanted to do. So I ended up with kind of a gap year. And in that gap year was the worst year of my life mentally. You know what I mean? You had no forward motion. All your friends are in college all day. You're sitting around doing nothing. And then maybe you coach a football team a couple of evenings a week, but there's no real forward drive. It wasn't until after that year that I looked back and went, wow, that was a real waste of time. And if you do that at retirement age, allow that to slip into 1, 2, 3, 10 years, it can be very draining mentally.
It can, and your health will go down the hill. I mean, how many of my colleagues I saw retire with nothing really to look forward to, and they all of a sudden they're less active. Well, and hello fitness, right? We're less active. They're just sitting back. They're mentally not checked into anything, and their health goes down the tubes.
That's something that I've actually never thought about in terms of a physical thing. Have you ever directed anything at training people who are in retirement, other than maybe when you were in the school? Like, have you and Jordan ever gone, let's try and direct something here? Everyone seems to help the 21-year-old who wants a six-pack, or the girl who's 25 and wants to lose some weight. Is anyone directing anything at maybe helping people who are at retirement age to stay physically active?
Well, not specifically that, but what I will say is I feel like my message is directed to people in my age bracket, right? And so my mission now, along with the inner circle and as part of the inner circle, is to bring this contingent in and to let them know it's not too late to reach whatever goal you want to reach, whether that's in fitness, whether that's in business, whatever it is. Like, we all used to think middle age was like the end, right? You retire and then that's it. You know, it's just you sleep in, wake up, drink coffee, and that's pretty much your day, you know? But I feel like a trail for people who are my age and younger, showing them that I am an example of someone who changed her life in her mid 50s. And it is possible. You know, I don't have great genetics. I'm not an athlete. I don't have any of those little gifts where things come naturally to me. I've had to work hard, but it's possible. And I feel like it gives middle-aged women hope that, yeah, they can lose some weight if they want to. No, it's not too late to do that. You know, and it's not as complicated as a lot of people make it out to be. And there's all the things that we used as excuses are not valid. You know, we can still do this. And so in some ways, yes, that is kind of targeting maybe retirement age people, but not specifically retirement, just middle-aged women. And I take it down even one step further to younger people, saying, you guys, start now. You know, take advantage of it. Start now, because if you start this stuff now, when you're my age, you are going to have the biggest leg up that I never had, you know, and you're going to be cruising. But if you wait, you can still do it, but there's no reason for you to wait. You know, there's just no reason to.
This is what your book is based on, isn't it? What is your book called again, just so people can know where could they access it if they did want to buy a book?
Sure. It's called Fit at Any Age. It's Never Too Late. And it's available all over the world on various Amazons around the world. All right. And really the interesting thing about my book is it's an easy read, like super easy read, quick. And it's a story of all the crazy things I did for decades, trying to lose weight and trying to maintain a loss and all that kind of stuff. And then showing how I turned it all around, just to hammer home the point that you can do this too. Like, it doesn't matter how many times you screwed up or for how long, you can still change. And that's the underlying message in the book. And the biggest feedback I've gotten about this book is the amount of people that have told me, this could have been me. You're writing my story, has been outrageous. So many people did what I did. And what was cool about me putting it in print is everyone feels like I'm not the only one. I'm not the only, you know, person that did all this junk stuff, you know, for so many years. And wow, I can really change things, you know, and that's the whole purpose.
You know, the funny thing about this is us as coaches generally have gone through all these things and learned all these things and done all these mistakes and made them. And we want to prevent other people making them. So we put out information to try and stop people making those mistakes that we made and allow them to skip those mistakes or skip those months or years of hardship and come straight to what actually works. But you still see them making the mistakes. You know, there's maybe coaches that are more popular than you that are promoting the wrong methods, or there's big companies that are selling kind of scams and bullshit products, and they just get stuck in that, and it takes a long time. I think some of them nearly have to go through that to get to where we are, to know that doesn't work anymore, and then start to progress, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because my generation, in fairness to all of us in this generation, the knowledge, and I'll put that in quotes, that we had back in the day was garbage, you know, but we didn't know that. I mean, it was what was talked about. You know, I can remember going through the fat loss phase where you have to eat low fat or non-fat anything, because fat will make you fat. I went through the whole thing where I ate these little chocolate squares that were appetite suppressants, right? So that they will take the edge off your appetite so you don't eat. You know, I went through the slim fast, drinking shakes. You know, I mean, I did all of these things because that's what was out there at the time, right? So we went with what we know. The cool thing now is that people your age and in a different generation, you have access to way more information at this age than I ever did. And so that's great. The generation behind you will probably have access to more information than you do. I mean, hopefully every generation is going to be smarter and hop on this earlier and understand that it's all doable and it's not as complicated as so many of those people out there make it seem like.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
What would you say, so as a coach, like when you're working in this line of work now, what would you say is your favorite part? Like, do you have a favorite part of this job? Like, is it when someone maybe changes their life, or do you just love the actual day-to-day talking to people? That for me is probably my favorite part. Like, this is probably why I still coach a lot more in person than online, because I'm just a really sociable person. I like to be around people. So that's really fulfilling for me as well, as obviously helping people. That will be a big part for me. Like, what would be your kind of favorite thing about this job or this career?
I think two favorite things, and I think you kind of hit on them. Being able to see people actually change their lives and believe in themselves, that they can actually do this now. They've had some success for the first time in their life, maybe, and they truly feel like the burden has been lifted off their shoulders, and that they finally believe in what they're doing. That's pretty rewarding. I mean, I don't know if it gets too much better than that. And then the other piece of this, I love the day-to-day talking too. And here's the thing, I talk to people all day on the phone, and people are surprised. Like, they'll email me, say, look, let's just hop on the phone. And they're like, what? You'll hop on the phone? I'm like, yeah. It's kind of like, talk to you, then sit there and trade emails, for God's sakes. I mean, it makes it so much easier to have a conversation with somebody. I mean, I'm old school like that.
Definitely, yeah.
So I love talking to people and problem solving, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
I listen and I try to reflect back what they're saying, and we try to narrow down what the problem is. We start putting into place some things that can help them, and I send them on their way. And I think it's so beneficial to have that conversation with people. And, people are surprised that I do that, but I love to do that. I love connecting with people.
Like with us, it was so easy. Glenn was in shock. I was like, Glenn, I messaged Susan. Within an hour, you got back to me, and within 5 days, here we are. We have the
yeah. I mean, I love doing this stuff. So yeah, I probably won't shut up. So you might be sorry.
We're the same. Don't worry. So if we're going to get into the subject of helping people, we have a few questions that obviously, like, we like to get something out of this, and we like to have conversations, but at the end of the day, we want to help our listeners too. And you might have different aspects or different knowledge, or better knowledge than me, and more experience than me in terms of fat loss. So we'd like to kind of get some information from you. So if we were to kind of assess, you've obviously worked with a lot of people, what would you think is the three biggest things that stop people from losing weight? So, people, they maybe have it in their head, and they start, and then they stop and start and stop, and maybe they've been stuck in that struggle for most of their lives. What do you think are the three kind of main things that kind of stop people from succeeding?
Yeah, only three. This is going to be a tough one to keep to three. One thing I think is they have unrealistic expectations of what's going to happen here. They feel like weight loss is going to be this steady, nice, easy decline. Every day I'm going to lose fat. Every day the scale's going to go down, right? And the reality is it doesn't work like that at all. And so the first time they don't see any movement on the scale, or when the going gets tough for whatever reason, they just say, this isn't working for me. They give up. And it's because they set the bar so high for themselves, stuff that just doesn't make any sense. Like, when I grew up, 2 pounds a week was like the slow weight loss. And really, to keep up 2 pounds a week of weight loss, that's insanely difficult to do. Yeah. But yet we grew up thinking that was normal. That was a slow weight loss. It's not. So I think unrealistic expectations that they put on the process, that it will be linear and pretty much easy going, and there aren't going to be any roadblocks or anything like that. I think that's one thing. Yeah. I think another one is pretty simple. They're eating more than they think they are. And that is either coming from they're not tracking what they're eating at all, or if they are tracking, they're not tracking accurately, and also meaning they're not being honest with what they're tracking and what they're not tracking, and I think therein lies a big issue that we all have to kind of take a look into ourselves and be super honest. Like, did I have those 3 lattes from Starbucks today? Yeah, you kind of want to count those, because those are not calorie free. And if you're struggling to lose weight, you really need to be aware of all these little things that you're consuming throughout the day and be honest about it. Track them. be honest, hold your own feet to the fire with regards to that. I think that's a pretty big problem for a lot of people. And it relates to the little bites and tastes and little mindless things that we eat throughout the course of a day that we don't count. We don't even think about because it's autopilot. We reach into the bag and grab a handful of whatever, things like that we have to kind of snap ourselves out of and, whoa, wait a minute. What am I eating here? Let me track it, and start getting a more honest representation of the calories consumed. I think that is a big one. And I think, tied to all of this is just the lack of consistent effort, right? They're all in for 2 or 3, 4 days. And after that, they fall off the wagon. Screw it. I'll just hop back on again Monday. They kind of let that one off track scenario turn into an off track weekend when it didn't have to be, those kinds of things. When the going gets tough, they just throw up their hands and say, screw it. I'll just start again on Monday. And they do that. Whereas if you just had an off track meal, okay, we all have those. It's part of our life. It's going to happen. We're not talking about trying to be perfect here. We're talking about staying consistent over the course of time. And you have an off-track meal, you hop back on track the next meal. You don't say screw it. You don't have guilt. You don't feel shame. You just hop back on track and keep going. That's it. And so many people don't do that.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Yeah, it's always the next Monday. Even if they have a takeaway on a Wednesday, they'll probably go, I'll wait till Monday now. I'm not. The weekend, the weekend's nearly here. I might as well wait till Monday.
And I could throw in stuff like people think they have to eat clean all the time. I talk about this a lot in my book because I was that annoying person that only ate clean foods. And I had my little bubble of foods and all the problems that presents. And people think they have to eat clean. And what's fascinating too is when I have discussions with people on the phone and when we start talking about nutrition, they say, well, I eat healthy. Okay, what does that even mean? In my age, if you want to lose weight, eating healthy is not how much healthy are you eating? we kind of have to know more details than that. Obviously, we all want to eat nutrient dense foods, and I'm not saying don't do that. Of course, that's important, but they have calories too. And I was that person who just ignored all of that. If it's healthy, why do I need to count anything? It's good for me, right?
Big aspect of that, the kind of
it doesn't matter.
Thing. What happens with the healthy thing as well is people get tricked by food labeling. So they go in and they get the yogurt that has a green label, or the certain products that are like, even protein supplements that they think are healthy, but not necessarily good to be in line with a calorie deficit. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and kind of tied to this too, when I talk to people about their struggles, here's what they tell me. It usually goes with, well, I can't lose weight and I lift 3 times a week. I do HIIT class twice a week. I'm going running 2 more times a week. I'm adding walking every day. And I'm all the laundry list of all these workout things, right? Yet they have not mentioned the one thing that's going to change their weight loss, which is their nutrition, right? Everyone is in the mindset that training is the driver of weight loss, not nutrition. And I use this example all the time about if you have like a weight loss car, you have a driver and a passenger in that weight loss car, and the driver has to be nutrition because you will go nowhere without the driver of any car. The driver of a car is responsible for getting you from point A to point B. And if you have the weight loss car, well, that driver is nutrition. You will get nowhere in weight loss if your nutrition is not in check and you're not consistent with it. The passenger in the weight loss car is training. That passenger is going to get you stronger, get you more muscular, increase your bone density, your mental health, your heart health. That passenger is going to make you a healthy driver. That passenger also can help navigate the way for you. Maybe that's the person with the map in the front seat or something, but it's not that person's responsibility to get you where you want to go. That goes back to the driver, and people have those roles reversed in their head. And I think the reason for that is that training is so much easier to change. You can add a class, you can do this, you could do that. That's easy to change. It's not easy to have to face what you're eating and how you may need to make some changes in order to reach your goals. That's a tough one. And I think we as humans do everything we can to avoid that. And
Yeah.
so that's why we go over to training being the driver of the weight loss car. And when you start thinking that way, you will forever spin your wheels. Forever spin your wheels. You've got to get the priorities straight. And so that's why when you talk about nutrition, the first thing out of your mouth has to be all the stuff that's dealing with nutrition, not all the stuff that's dealing with training with regards to fat loss.
Yeah, I always say this to people as well, like when you think about like training or like the 3 to 5 hours a week that we exercise, how much calories can we burn there realistically? You know what I mean? And then how simple is it to eat back those calories or to eat over those calories?
In a minute, right? In a minute.
Literally.
You know, and I really feel like too, people look to exercise as a way to lose weight. And that is really a bad move and really setting yourself up for a bad relationship with exercise, because you hear a lot of us talk about relationship with food, super important, right? If you have a screwy relationship with food, that's going to be a tough one. But if you have a screwy relationship with exercise, that's going to be tough too, because you're going to over exercise. You're going to exercise until you burn out. You're going to get injured, all those things. We need to look at exercise as a way to build muscle, build strength, increase our bone density, increase our mental health, heart health. This is why we exercise. We don't exercise to lose weight. And when we start figuring that out up here, things take a whole different look. You know, we make our workouts more effective. We don't add more to our workout week. We make what we do more effective to reach our muscular goals, to reach our strength goals, to reach our bone density goal, you know, whatever the positive goal is, you bring intensity to that workout. And so I think the relationship with both needs to be in check.
It's funny, I think smartwatches have nearly ruined this whole idea, because training should be exactly what you're saying there, adding. We need to make ourselves, or we should be trying to make ourselves stronger, or whatever the case may be. We should be adding to our physique or adding to our body, adding something. Now it's all just become about taking away. It's just, I burned 700 calories. I burned 400 calories.
Yeah.
And they're all there in pictures. It's just grown like crazy, like wildfire. It's just all about.
And not to mention that those numbers are wrong. Yeah. You know, I'm wearing an Apple Watch right now. I don't even know how to access the calories burned and whatever. I don't even want to know. It doesn't matter. But I did an experiment once, because I do have a spin bike here in my house. I got it during the pandemic to have another outlet, right? And I'm not one of those people that will go outside and walk when it's like, you know, freezing outside. I won't do that. I just won't do that. I don't know. So I got a spin bike. So just for kicks, I use the Peloton app. I don't have a Peloton bike, but I use their app. So I did a 30-minute spin class or whatever it was. I tracked it on my watch. I tracked it on the Peloton app, and my bike tracked it as well, right? I got 3 different amounts of calories burned, and they weren't close to each other. And it's like, this is exactly the problem. Yeah. People put so much stock into those numbers. They are wrong. And when you start trying to figure calories back in from those numbers, you're really shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. So discussed what kind of the biggest mistakes are that people make. What do you think will be the 3 kind of components to a successful person, someone who does lose weight? Like, what do you notice in the ones who succeed versus the ones who don't succeed?
I think one major thing that people that are successful do that others do not is they plan. And this is so underrated. They plan ahead. They don't wing their nutrition from meal to meal. Like, they don't eat breakfast and then log it into their little tracker, whatever they're using, and then eat lunch and then log it. What they do is the night before, they lay out their nutrition in their app. They pre-log it in the night before. So now everything is already in there. They know how their nutrition day is going to unfold, right? They don't have to think of what to cook. It's already listed there for them. And it takes them out of potential landmine situations as days go on, right? Like, you end up at the end of the day and you only have X number of calories left, right? You've already prefigured that out. That is probably the most underrated fat loss hack. I hate that word, but if you want to use it, I would say planning ahead of time is the big thing that most people who are successful do well. Another thing is, I feel like those people don't view food as good versus bad. Like they don't feel like that's a bad food, I can't have that. They know food is just food. There are foods that have more nutrients versus others, and that's what they want to eat most of. But they also know that a healthy diet incorporates all foods, not just the nutrient dense foods, right? So when someone says, I eat healthy, I hope that means you have a piece of chocolate cake every now and again, or a slice of pizza, or whatever. You mean, that's what a healthy diet is when you learn how to incorporate all of that. And I think people that are successful have done that, and are continuing to learn to do that. And then I think successful people, when they get off track, they literally hop right back on, like we were talking about before. They don't start feeling guilty. They don't say, oh, screw it, I'm just going to go, whatever, and I'll start again Monday, blah, blah. They don't listen to the crap that they tell themselves. They don't buy into it. They like, no, I didn't screw anything up. I went out, I had a nice meal with my family. I'm just hopping back on track tomorrow. That's it. That's all they do. And I think that is really underrated too, because so often I feel like the emotional voices in our head just start going crazy. We allow this too, by the way. We all allow emotion just to make our head spin, when our logic voices are sitting in the back of our head, just sitting there taking a nap. And it's like, wake up, wake those logic voices up. You don't gain fat from eating a meal out. Could you gain fat from eating 5 meals out a week? Of course, but a meal out is not why you're gaining fat. So being realistic and not listening to the own crap that we tell ourselves, I think that's super important.
So from there, right, we're discussing the kind of way people kind of tend to think about like how many calories they burn and stuff like that through training, more so. A lot of what people do when they do those things is try to do a lot of cardio, because they feel that makes the heart rate go up and reacts to the watch, and then they burn more calories, and that therefore they can eat more, or whatever the case may be. So if you're basing your training right now, if you're say, oh, I want to lose weight in the next 3 months or 90 days or whatever the case may be, would you prefer to do more strength training or more cardio training, or would you mix the both equally, or what way would you work between strength and cardio?
I would want to make sure that the person understands that nutrition, again, is the driver of your weight loss, not whatever training modalities we come up with, right? Because I always get asked, what's the best exercises for fat loss? And it's called, as Jordan says, plate pushes, where you push the plate away from you. That's your best exercise for fat loss, right? And again, it goes back to our relationship with exercise and what it's for and what it's not for. It's not for losing weight. It's for improving our life. But I would emphasize strength training. It's just too important, especially as you get older, to be able to build strength and build some muscle along the way so you can lead a functional life. I mean, that's what the benefits of strength training is going to do for you. So when you're 85 years old, you can get up off the floor, you can play with your grandkids, you can go up and down steps, you can sit down and stand up all on your own. And it's also going to help that when you're older, and if you fall, it doesn't necessarily automatically mean you've broken a hip like it does for so many elderly people. This is what strength training will do for you. And so for people who say, well, I don't really like it that much, I get it. I am all about finding a form of exercise that you love, whatever that is. But strength training has to be a part of your life in some way, shape, or form. It's that important. It doesn't have to take over your life. You don't ever have to do a powerlifting meet or anything crazy. Regularly building up strength will do nothing but help you physically for the rest of your life, as well as give you some confidence that you've never felt before. Because people that start lifting heavy weight develop this confidence that is a little hard to justify with words. I can't give it the due it deserves, but what it will do for the rest of your life will be life-changing. And I think that's underrated as well. So I would emphasize strength training. And I like to tell people anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week with strength training. And then I would plug in some cardio days if you want. Cardio from a weight loss perspective, we see calories being burned on cardio, and that's all great and good. And those numbers don't really mean anything or add up to anything, because we don't really know how much we've actually, quote, burned. But we don't want to get, as you mentioned earlier, into that burn consume cycle. You know, it never works. So it is great for your mental health, and it's great for your heart health. So I'm a big proponent of moving every day.
Yeah.
Movement every day is essential for all of us. And that can be walking. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but people that like cardio or whatever, add a couple days of strict cardio training if you want. And man, you've got the best recipe ever. You're building muscle 3 to 4 times a week. You're doing some cardio a couple times a week, and you're moving your joints every day, even if you're just walking around your apartment or your house or whatever. I think that's the best recipe.
For me, the cardio, yeah, just 1 second. I was just going to say, Glenn will be bigger on the cardio. For me, cardio would never be related to fat loss. For me, I just always felt good doing it. And I'm sure Glenn felt the same.
Yeah.
Glenn loves running. That'd be his kind of main thing. And I would imagine it's all down to how he feels more so, Glenn. Is it like that?
I think so. And I really want to emphasize here, I was not a cardio person. I had a stint as a really bad runner, and I talk about that in the book. So cardio and I just never have really it was not my thing. But once I got that spin bike and I started doing some classes, and from a coach, it's kind of nice doing something that you don't have to think about. Somebody's telling you what to do here and there, you know, like I'm doing this class. So I don't have to figure out, okay, I'm going to do bike intervals and this is what I'm going to do. I was following a class. I started sweating. I'm not a sweater. Like when I go into the gym and lift, I don't really sweat that much. I started getting into this. Not that sweating is a great indication of the quality of a workout. It's really not, but it made me feel good. Like what you were saying, yeah. I felt good working hard for 30 minutes, getting my heart rate up, sweating a little bit. It was a newer thing for me, and I love it. And it makes me feel good. My heart's benefiting from it. My blood pressure benefits from it. I mean, there's so many benefits for it.
Susan, I overcame my anxiety disorder 10 years by running. You know, I went into these agoraphobic states of like being afraid to go places, and you know, because of the panic attacks, I'd only feel safe like near close to my home and stuff like that. And venturing further than that would mean like, you know, this was going to be a really bad panic attack. So I suffered that in silence for a lot of years, and eventually one day I said, I'm sick of this. And one day I went on a run, and you know, I started running consistently, and basically just rewired my whole, just like a big psychological rebirth. It was crazy. Like I ran every day. I was afraid to jog 1 kilometer in fear of my heart having a heart attack, basically.
Yeah.
And what I did then, I said, I have enough of this. I would rather go out and run and die as a warrior than just sit in the house and do nothing. And I started to run, and I jogged consistently for 5 months, and in that 5 month spell, Susan, I went from you know, being able to jog a marathon, and then getting on a plane to Paris for the first time in 10 years flying. So basically what happened there is like I'd born my adrenal system naturally, rather than born it from the panic attacks and sitting in the house doing nothing, and just, because all panic really is, and all that is just adrenaline really. And it's just excess adrenaline built up, and I'm just not burning off whatsoever. And then I started to jog, and I just, you know, I was jogging, and after the jogs never worked. I'd never get the feeling after a 10K that I would get after a 1K. When I jogged 10K, 15K, like really, really long distances, my adrenal system would just be so depleted that I would not feel anxiety throughout the day, and it was like a miracle cure for me that I kept doing it consistently. Every morning I woke up, I'd have a set time, 6 a.m. I'm up, I'm on my runners. Wouldn't even spend 10 seconds in bed. I'm up and I'm gone. And this was like a big psychological switch over to me. I could get back on buses again. Like I'd come home from my jog, be like 10 a.m. then. I could get back on the train. I could get back on a bus. It changed my whole life. Just jogging.
That is quite, that's an amazing story and great for people to know. The thing I really like is that whatever made that day different, where you just said, I've had enough. You know, you just took the bull by the horns, held yourself kind of accountable for this from that point on. But what was cool is when you started doing that, you started seeing how that transferred over, right, to other parts of your life. Like you were now able to get on a bus or the train or whatever. I mean, things that you hadn't done in so long. So I love that.
Yeah, and it made me go back down to Lee's gym, where for the last 3 years I'd go down to Lee's gym and all I'd ever lift was 10 kg dumbbells, and then within 2 years I was lifting 260k rack pulls.
Yeah.
And it's insane what it's done for me, you know. I'm getting as strong as Lee now.
I love it.
Glenn, your microphone's gone a bit messed there. Is that the same for everyone? Can you hear it that way, or?
Yeah, it's sounding a little garbled.
Crap.
It was grand at the start. Did you move it or anything?
Yeah, I moved just to adjust my posture.
Yeah.
How about now? Is that okay?
Still a bit shaky.
It's like there's an echo.
Yeah. You got the earpods in? Is that what that's coming from, or?
Yeah, it could be the earphone.
Had you got them in at the start? Because we could hear you clear earlier.
Yeah, I had everything in at the start. Yeah. I'll not get. Let's check this. Now, how about now?
Still a bit of an echo.
Wow. I hope you got that in, because I feel that was an important.
Oh, we did. We can hear it. You can hear it. It's just a bit echoey, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it. Like running for me was my way out, and that's what I teach people in the coaching that I do. Like, first of all, that start resisting to it, and Susan, I also made a video on overcoming an anxiety disorder. The way someone, I linked it to overcoming someone who wants to lose weight. How they're so resistant to things, and they think that within 3-4 weeks they're going to lose this massive amount of weight, or they're going to overcome this 6-year anxiety disorder. It just doesn't work like that. It's habits, behaviors, and a total shift in lifestyle. None of this stuff comes easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think we all agree that cardio may be not the best thing for fat loss, but definitely a great thing to make you feel good mentally and physically. You feel good, but maybe
100%.
the best thing for fat loss. Next thing I was going to ask you that I think would be a big factor, especially to help women. Do you think, or I probably do you know the major differences between the kind of a male and a female trying to lose weight? Is there anything you would do differently as a female versus a male, or anything you'd operate differently around that?
No, I mean, I think this gets, gender anything, I think it's overplayed a lot. And this is one of them. The science of fat loss is the science of fat loss. You eat less than your body needs, you will lose fat. I think there's research showing that men can lose fat maybe a little bit faster than women. And I know you always hear women saying, my husband can do all this and eat all this, and lose weight. And I have to, you hear that. And I think there's something to that, but I think, boy, do people put way too much stock in that. And it comes, whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, it comes down to you being in a modest deficit, getting enough protein, and being able to be consistent with that. That's the word that people tend to blow over, the consistency word, because that's the key. Whether you're male, female, doesn't matter. If you're not consistent, it's not going to work. I mean, it's just not. So the women that get frustrated, most of the time they're frustrated because they haven't found a way to be consistent yet. And maybe that's because their calories are too low and they can't be consistent because it's just too low for them. Or they're giving themselves one, every day is a special occasion. It's every day is the one meal out, I mean, every day is a big party. Every day is this. Well, of course, that's going to be really tough to lose weight when every day is a special occasion. You have to have some kind of restriction to some degree if you want to lower the amount of food that you're eating, right? To lose weight. So I don't put as much stock in that. I really don't. It's like, I always get asked about training men and women differently. And it's like, you know what? We all do the same stuff. Yeah. I may do a different variation of something that you do, but I can assure you, we both squat, we both deadlift. Yeah. I'm not deadlifting 300 pounds, but I might be deadlifting 225, or maybe this person over here is deadlifting with a kettlebell, or, so I think we all do the same stuff, but I just wouldn't use the men versus women thing. for much of
Just,
anything.
maybe from like as I was saying earlier before we started about the kind of, some people tend to operate around the menstrual cycle, let's say, so they might do a 3 week deficit, and then where this week is going to be obviously physically and mentally a little bit tougher, maybe you're not feeling so great, people tend to up the calories to maintenance just for that week to try and make you feel a little bit better and come back fresh again in the first week of your next cycle. Do you do anything like that, or work around that in any way? Or
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think point well taken, that is the one thing that will definitely be different, because men don't have that week of the month. And for women, you know, how many times do women reach out to me and say, I am so hungry during this time, you know, and I tell them the exact same thing. Purposefully schedule your calories up into more of a maintenance type of range for you during that week to keep the edge off of that hunger. And think of it this way. Let's say it's for a week, you're in maintenance for this week, but the other 3 weeks you're in a deficit. So that the net effect for that month is that you've been in a deficit, right?
Yeah.
That 1 week of maintenance is not halting progress. It is not keeping you from making progress, which I think a lot of people think. They think it's somehow failing, like they should be tougher than that. And I think trying to battle that is definitely not a battle worth fighting, because meaning just staying in the deficit and tough it out, because you're going to end up probably binging as a result now. And when you could have prevented all of that by just upping your calories a little bit every single day to give you a little bit more wiggle room, you'll dance around your little maintenance weight range for that week. Cool. Go back into a deficit whenever you feel like you're ready to go.
Yeah, that's like it. I would think that you're going to come into the next month's phase fresh, energized, ready to go, versus hungry and ready to be. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of differences I was getting at. Like, do you feel like, would you ever kind of work around that in a different way with male versus female? Like, you know,
I mean, 100%, because I don't know of a situation that males would have anything quite that similar hormonally going on that would cause that kind of behavior that women have to put up with every month.
We get man flu, Susan.
I'm sorry.
We get man flu.
Man flu.
Definitely worse.
Then go into maintenance for that week too for me.
Everything goes out the window in that week. We can't do anything.
Yeah.
Netflix, everything.
Another topic that I wanted to touch on, I don't know if this is popular where you are, but where we are in Dublin at the moment, it's become really popular for people to kind of set extreme fat loss goals. So lads going down to maybe 4% body fat, females maybe around 12 to 14, for no other reason than to get some pictures for Instagram. So they'll work with a coach for maybe 3 to 6 months, and the end goal is just to get to that really extreme leanness, just to get a photo. So with my kind of personal view on it, I always think like there's no real reason to be down at that kind of level of body fat. And then what are you doing to yourself mentally if you tell yourself that you have to look like that? You know what I mean? So I've heard a lot of horror stories where people were going to do it, and then they're so depressed for 6 months that they don't want to leave the house, don't want to go out in public, because they view themselves as that way. I have to look, I put that up all over Instagram. Now I don't look like that. I don't want people to see me. Or people can't look at themselves in the mirror afterwards. You know, they go, they do it again, tell themselves that I need to look like this. Or it happened a lot with young coaches here. A couple of young coaches that were popular did it. And then I feel like all the other young coaches felt like they had to do it to get clients and to be popular and to be relevant. But they're putting themselves, for me, into a kind of a physical and mental state that they don't really need to be in. And it's a kind of, you're on the edge of nearly, you know, developing a body dysmorphia or anorexia or things like this, like, you know what I mean? So I just kind of wondered, like, does this happen where you are? And secondly, like, kind of what would your view on it be, or what would your advice be to people that are maybe thinking about going through this process of getting to that low level of body fat?
I think you can see that all over the internet, right? I mean, with people just showing the Instagram ready photos, and how that's not reality. for almost everyone. And the thing is with that, you know, what's the exit plan after you do these drastic measures to get down to whatever percent you want to get, whatever number you're chasing a number of some kind, whether it's weight, body fat, whatever it is, something you have no control over. You're chasing it by doing drastic things. Okay, so once you reach that, what now? What happens then? They have no idea. And it's very similar to what I talk about in my book about when I did this program called Jenny Craig, which is a meal plan company here in the States. And they basically, you buy their food and you lose weight. That's kind of the short of it. You know, you buy all their prepared meals. So you're at their mercy. You eat these little teeny tiny meals that are like this big, right? And you lose weight, which I did. I lost like 50 pounds, but I had no exit strategy, none. I didn't know what I was eating. I didn't know how much I was eating. And all I knew was that I was hungry a lot, but I lost 50 pounds. So part of me was saying, oh, wow, this was successful, but it surely wasn't, because I yo-yoed from that day I left Jenny Craig. I yo-yoed increments of 50 pounds till 7 years ago, you know, and I did Jenny Craig back in the 90s. So no, it was not successful for me. And I think I had no exit plan. This is the same kind of thing. So what do? There is no exit plan. And then what has it done, like you were mentioning, to your mental health, about feeling like you have to be a certain way? I think this plays into society right now. And I would see it bleed down into the middle school where I was a counselor, with girls with their body image, you know, issues, even back when I was still a counselor, probably even more prevalent now than it was when I was there. But yeah, it's a tough one, because it's not reality. You're seeing the highlights on Instagram. You're not seeing what they have to do to get there. The hours of cardio they're probably putting in every single day to, quote, burn off whatever calories, which brings us back to the poor relationship with exercise. I mean, the problems just mount and mount and mount. And we kind of live in this society now of instant gratification, don't we? I mean, we have anything we need at the tip of our fingertips, right? On the computer, whatever. We can order food, we can get any information, whatever. And so I had a conversation with a woman before I came on here, how she says, I want everything now. I'm not patient. You know, the art of doing things slowly is not around anymore. And it's making it super hard because we have everything at our fingertips. So of course we want everything fast, including weight loss. And I think that compounds the issue. We didn't have all this when I was growing up, so it wasn't a factor for me, but it certainly is now in who I deal with. It's everywhere. And I think that makes it even harder. But the reality is, modest deficit over time with consistent effort will get you exactly where you want to be. And the best part about it is you will be able to maintain it. Because if you do something, if you have unsustainable methods, you will have unsustainable results. And that's something to keep in mind for people that want to lose weight quickly.
Yeah. The big thing that I always kind of tell people, or when they're thinking about this, is that is not sustainable. Like when they do that, or what you see in an Instagram post, maybe it seems sustainable on Instagram because they repost all the pictures they took that day for 6 months or a year. But within 2 to 7 days of them taking that picture, or maybe even a matter of hours, they don't look like that anymore. You know what I mean? As soon as you rehydrate and put food and carbs back into your body and start to store water and carbs again, you don't look like that anymore. So what are people setting themselves up for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what you're going to expect yourself to look like that for a month or 6 months? It's not going to happen. It's going to be gone in hours.
I have a post that's going to go up at some point, basically saying one of the biggest mistakes I see people do with regards to weight loss is they just want to lose the weight quickly, and they'll figure out how to maintain it later. I'll figure that out. I just got to get this weight off. I'll figure out how to maintain it. And, I put on the post, spoiler alert, it never works that way. I mean, it never works. We think we can figure that out, because I was that person too. See, I mean, I've done so many stupid things. And this is just yet another one, thinking I'll lose weight very quickly. I'll figure out, I'll be able to maintain it this time. This time it's going to be different.
Yeah.
And it never is.
Never is. Yeah, exactly. So maybe another thing I wanted to tap on, if we're going to go away from that subject, if somebody was a total newbie, because I find this, like even myself, like there's times where my education on losing weight was absolutely horrendous. Like I'd see celebrities like Beyonce or something would do lemon and cayenne and hot water, and if you drank that every morning, you're going to lose weight. Didn't matter how many calories you ate or what you done or what exercise you done. That I fully believed that when I was 17, 18, 19 or whatever. So I'm sure there's people out there that still believe a lot of craziness. So from someone that has actually helped people lose weight consistently over many years, what if I was brand new to this and I needed to lose 10, 20, 50 pounds? I've never done anything related to diet or exercise. What would be the first kind of 3 things you would implement with someone that just wants to properly lose weight slowly and you know, maintain it over time? Like,
I would have them start with, and we talked about this off air a little bit first, becoming aware of what they're consuming every day, because we literally have no clue. We think we're eating a certain amount, but the reality is we're eating way more than that, because if we weren't, we'd be losing weight, right? So I have them literally take out a pad of paper and a pen, leave it in the kitchen, and every time you put something in your mouth, whether it's a bite of something, a taste, a little handful of this, a coffee with some cream in it, whatever it is, write it on this pad of paper. You don't have to calculate calories or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just put it down, make a list. Every day, do this for at least a week and start becoming aware of, like, holy crap, look what I'm doing every single day. What happens after a couple of days of this? You start to make some different choices. You know, you may not automatically now reach for that handful of something. You may not have 3 lattes in a day. It might just be 2. You know, you're going to start changing behaviors just from the sheer number of things that you have to write down on this pad of paper every day. It's a great wake-up call. And like anything, you have to be aware of the reality before you start with anything, right? We have to be honest, have a come to Jesus meeting with ourselves, and holding our own feet to the fire and just doing that. Super easy. Anyone can do it. And I say, use a pad of paper and a pen. Do not type into your phone. Do not type into your computer, because we do that all day, every day, mindlessly. You will not even remember what you put in there. But when you have to take time to handwrite it on something, it will stick up here a lot longer and it will have more of an impact. So I'm really particular about that part of it. The second thing I would say is start with moving every day. Like, you don't need to go to the gym for an hour and a half. That's not where you start. You start by scheduling time in your day to get out and walk. And that might be only 5 minutes at the beginning, but that 5 can turn to 10, 15, 20. Listen to a podcast, do something, but get out and move every day. Make that a non-negotiable. Like, you have to get out and do some kind of movement every single day. And pretty soon that becomes kind of part of your life. Like Glenn was saying, what happened with running with him, that's it was something that he's just started to do. And it was a no-brainer. You don't even think about it. You just do it. It's part of who you are. And then the third thing is, because, you know, I'm harping on the importance of strength. I feel like once you get that movement piece down, then if you don't know where to start with strength training, I have 2 courses of action for that. One, you could start adding squats and assisted push-ups in your day, in your house, by saying, okay, I'm going to have, by the end of the day, I'm going to have done 25 squats and I'm going to do 25 assisted push-ups with my hands on the wall, right? And you, by the end of the day, you break it up however you want, but that's your goal every single day. And maybe you change the numbers. Maybe you get so strong with those push-ups with your hands on the wall that your hands come down to a countertop now, right? Because as the more you lower your hands, the harder they get. So you could do something like that. And, or with that, hire an in-person coach, hire you, to work with them in person for a basic strength program, to get that person in the gym comfortable with the free weight section, comfortable with movements and doing them properly and safely, so that person can build strength. I think those are the places to start.
Yeah, definitely agree with those as well. Like Glenn was saying earlier, if he had went out that door on day one and tried to jog 10K or even put that in his head, it probably would have scared the shit out of him. But when he done 1K, it just eventually becomes 10K. And then, as you said, with the tracking, writing down, there was either an English or American show years ago where people that were like massively obese, let's say, they would take out everything that they eat in a week, and they'd go and buy it, let's say, and put it across the table and be like, this is what you eat in a week. And it would open their eyes right at the start of the program to go, whoa, that's what I'm actually eating here. Like, I need to cut this back. It's just it's bringing your awareness to what you're actually doing.
I truly think awareness is where it all starts. It's gotta, because we as humans, we suck at being accurate with trying to figure out how much we're consuming, right? Yeah. We always underestimate that, always. All of us do, right? And the only way to kind of slap us out of this is to do stuff like that. Write it down, put it out on the table, whatever it is, a reality check.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's some good advice for people in there in terms of actually losing weight or what they should or shouldn't do. The last thing I kind of want to ask is we always find, like, I would see you and Jordan as really successful coaches, and what you do as a team is really successful. So with people that normally have this success, there's always something maybe driving them. There's something from behind that drives them. Maybe something happened in their life. Like Glenn is, like, let's say, a successful runner. Glenn has been able to run marathons. He had that moment where he just went, I can't do this anymore. My lifestyle's not making me happy, or whatever the case was. The mental health issues that he had pushed him to go and do that. Is there anything that drives you, like, you know, as a motivation to maybe provide for your kids or to do this or that, or what is the main driving factor to push you to do what you do every day?
You know, interesting question. I'm in a very unique position being my age, because I don't have a lot of age peers in this industry. I don't. All of you guys are much younger than me. But and that doesn't bring a lot of advantages for me, but there is one that it does bring, and that is kind of life experience. And I've already had a career. So I don't do this because I have to make money and earn a living. Yeah. I could drop this tomorrow and live perfectly fine from a financial and providing for the family and all that, because I'm retired. I have a retirement coming in. I'm very, very, very fortunate. So that puts a different light on why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing it purely out of, I want to help. That's it. And I feel like, because that's what's kept me going. Because when you're in an industry like we're in, and almost everybody is 20, 30 years younger than you, that's a little tough. Because I kept thinking, why would anybody want to listen to me? You know, what does this old lady have to offer people? And as I found out, I feel like I do have a lot to offer people. That's why I wrote the book, because everything that I went through, how I changed things later in life, this is what I want people to know, that you can do this too, right? And so that's what drives me, is to get that out every day, you know. And do I get bouts of imposter syndrome or even anxiety, whatever? Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm a human being. Yeah, I absolutely do. But I found the one thing that helps me with that is taking action. Just taking action on something really, really, really is where all of that, like the imposter syndrome, calms down. The anxiety that might be related to that calms down. Whatever it is, calms down. Like sometimes I'll find myself, my brain at night, just kind of, I really struggle with shutting down. This is something I'm working on. And one of the things, you know, like I'm anxious about, like, okay, how much longer can I keep posting on Instagram, for God's sakes? You know, how much? And one thing that I started figuring out, I started putting a lot of pressure on myself to have to keep posting every single day. And I'm like, why am I doing that? So my action step for that was to pick a day where I don't post. You know, I started with taking that action, which is kind of an inaction, but it's a deliberate action up here, right? And now it's a couple days a week, maybe I don't. And I'm starting to be like, okay, this part of the anxiety is going away, you know, because I am taking steps to help that. So it's taking action, I think, for me. But yeah, and for me, it's all about getting the message out. And there will be things that come along with that, being, you know, having a bunch of followers and being asked a bunch of questions or whatever. not having an age peer. I know people that are turning 50. I don't know anybody my age. I don't, and then part of me gets to be like, why would anybody even want to hang out with me? It'd be like hanging out with your mother. Why would anybody want to do that? And here's an interesting thing. Jordan and I have this conversation frequently. And I told him, I said, the age difference between us sits in my brain. At the beginning, it sat in my brain for a long time. Made me like, why is this working? Why does he even remotely want to associate with me or whatever?
And he didn't even register with him.
It didn't even register with him.
Yeah.
And I said, here's why. My generation, when I was your age, this would never have happened. When I was 20 something, I would never have paired up with a 50-some-year-old man or whatever and run a business together. That's how it was back then. So This is what I know. Your all's generation, this crazy shit like this happens all the time, right? So it's nothing to even bat an eye at. But it's funny how we approach this from two different perspectives, right? And so I'm much better. I mean, I don't even think about it anymore, but that was really difficult. That was really difficult at the beginning for me. But everyone has been so welcoming to me in this community that we're all in. Technology's been a huge issue for me. I don't know how to do half of this stuff. I get panicked every time I come on Zoom. Like, did I do it right? Did I turn off the mic? I don't know. So technology, I didn't grow up with this. I don't know. I don't even want to learn this stuff. I not anymore. So yeah, I get little bouts of stuff like that all the time. And if something with technology is making me anxious, the one thing I do is, okay, I'm going to learn how to do it. That's kind of my mantra at this point. And, it is what it is. Being old is not great. It's not, there are some advantages, like I said, but it is what it is.
Susan, even when we, in the gym, and me and Lee said we're going to get you on as a guest, and he accepted, and all, we were showing people, like, this is we're getting on, and people like, whoa, like, no way she's 61. This is no way.
Yeah.
And it was incredible, like, amazing. The reactions that we got.
And I don't know if that's an age thing too. I don't know. I'm a naive business person. I'm sure in Susan Niebergall Fitness, it could be a huge, I didn't want it to be a huge thing. I don't want, that. I would rather be able to talk to people like you, help spread the message that we all want to spread to everybody, reinforce things, talk to people about how they can improve their lives and that it's not too late for them. That's what I want to do, and so that's what Jordan and I are doing in the inner circle. I've brought a middle-aged contingent into the inner circle. There was one there, but even maybe more now, which is great, right? We have everybody in there from soup to nuts, which is exactly what we want. A lower cost alternative to one-on-one coaching that is accessible to just about anybody, anywhere, and so this is where I feel like I'm in my groove.
You're basically, your whole thing, your whole life boils down to helping others. If you look back from teaching in a school, there was something that led you to teaching a school, to counsel in a school, to coach people, was always a desire to just help others, basically. I
think so. And I get that from my dad. My dad was an attorney. And as I learned, even after his death, how many people he helped for free, I had no idea. And it just blew my mind. And really, when I started learning to that extent what he did, I felt like so many things made sense in my life, like why I wanted to do what I wanted to do, why I was so content with helping, and why I am who I am. I get it now. Yeah,
it's interesting to get that drive or why people do things, just to find what's the motivator. I think a lot, especially in the fitness industry, the ones who promote the quick fixes, their want is just the money. Where people like ourselves that talk in a different way and try to actually help people, our want is to help people. It's not for money. And you can, even with Glenn, like when Glenn first rang me about coming to the gym and told me he was suffering with anxiety and stuff like that, I hadn't spoke to Glenn. Probably we played football again. We were friends as kids, played football against each other in our teenage years. Probably hadn't spoke to each other in 5 years. He called me one day and said, I'm suffering with anxiety, blah, blah, I want to train. But how much is it to use your gym? I was like, for you, nothing, man. I was like, come down, just come down for free.
Just come on.
I just want to get you out of the house, man. I know what you're going through. I've been through it myself. Let's just get you used to coming here and like make you feel better. So it was never.
I'd offer you money, Lee, like small bits, and you wouldn't even take it. Like just come down, just come down. You never cared about the money. You just wanted.
I think that's probably what we have in common. Is all three of us here is the desire to help people over making money, like
100%.
So probably make us happier as well in our jobs, because no amount of money is ever going to make you happy. But when you the kind of the feeling that you get when you help someone, like, you know what I mean, is a much better feeling than I've made €100 today, you know.
Absolutely,
yeah.
it is.
Even when I set up Susan with anxiety, like I know I was like to suffer from that, and I wasted so much money on like, you know, therapists and doctors and stuff like that over my 10 years, and then for me then to charge someone, it was horrible. I couldn't get around it. I couldn't like, well, am I really going to charge this person for the suffering? Then I had to work with a business coach and stuff like that, and you know, I had to work with a business coach, and to, you know, basically it's from my time that I'm giving now. Do I really believe that I can help, and is it worth it? Yes, yes, yes. All the boxes ticked yeses, and then I became so okay. My heart's in the right place, and that's what I'm going to do. But at the start, I was like, oh, no, I don't know about this. But I learned to overcome that.
I feel you on that one.
Is there anything anyone would like to add before we end this, or ask Glenn, or anything at all?
I think we got through all the questions we wanted to ask, Lee.
Yeah.
I think everything's
great.
sorted.
I think people definitely.
I'm very happy to have you on, Susan. Couldn't have picked a better first guest. And Lee, we discussed ourselves that like when we're doing this on our journey, we want to learn and be educated as well. And for me personally, I picked up a lot from Susan.
Yeah, same here. Definitely learned some stuff that could help me as a person and me as a coach, and that I know will help our listeners today as well. Like, so I'm sure a lot of people have learned a lot from this short talk that we had.
Well, thanks for having me. This has been great. It's been great to speak to you guys.
Thanks a lot for coming on.
Sure.
And Susan, in regards to, you know, after this podcast, where people can find you on your Instagram, website, where will people get you?
Sure. So I'm Susan Niebergall Fitness pretty much everywhere, and it's NIEBERGALL. So on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I have a YouTube channel. I have a pretty extensive YouTube channel with a lot of videos on, you know, middle-aged strength training, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. My book, Fit at Any Age, It's Never Too Late. And I also have a podcast called the Strong and Lean at Any Age podcast.
Okay, great.
When we're posting this on the pages, I will link your Instagram. So normally everything will be linked through Instagram, so people can go onto your Instagram and they can find everything from there, because I'm sure there's definitely people that will be interested in either working with you or asking you some questions to elaborate on what they've learned today.
Anytime.
So we'll end it there. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Absolutely.
And we hope to hear from you again soon. Oh, thanks, one last thing actually before we one last thing. Jordan, I wrote on Jordan's questions, you know, he does ask me a question. I wrote on his question the other day, and he said to me, I said, will you come on our podcast? And he said, 100% I'll go on any podcast. Doesn't matter how many you've done or how many followers you have or anything. I said, I'm going to call you out on this email. He gave me his email address in the post. I emailed him and I haven't heard back. So next time you're up with him, tell him I want.
He's leaving for his honeymoon right now. So
I know, I'll let him off on that one.
Yeah.
How long is he away for?
A couple of weeks, I think.
Right. 2 weeks time or 3 weeks time.
But I'm going to Texas literally as soon as he gets back. So I'll make sure, if you don't, I'll bring it up.
Great. Thanks a million. Thanks again for coming on. And it was a pleasure to have you.
Take care. Thanks guys.
So much, Susan. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.